Hey guys, welcome to Marmalade Mysteries. I'm Ariel.
I'm Georgia.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Olivia.
We are four best friends brought together by our interest of true crime and mystery.
Through the years we've lived together, we've constantly talked about and tried to solve cold cases and solve mysteries from around the world.
And we really like the sound of our own voices, so we decided to put it out in the podcast world so all of you can hear how funny we think we are.
Each week, you'll hear one murder,
one mystery,
and we'll also feature a missing person because we believe in the power of communities to find lost people.
So, pour yourself a hot cup of joe, cuddle in your blanket, and brace yourself. From Marmalade Mysteries. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Marmalade Mysteries. This is your host, Olivia, speaking.
If you can't tell, we all got microphones, and so we're all really excited to use them.
This is the sound of my voice. I'm going to now perform ASMR.
I would listen to you when I went to bed. I would do that.
It's very relaxing.
Let's check in with everybody. Lisa, how's it going with you?
It's going pretty well. Feeling awake. It's bright around here. Gonna have Friendsgiving tonight. So getting excited about that. Which we were having a Friendsgiving, but as it is, everyone's far away from each other.
COVID-19.
It's a
COVID-19.
Hashtag
Ariel.
COVID.
Yeah, I'm chill. I don't know. I finished uni yesterday, so that was like a fuck yeah.
Congratulations, girl.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's right. For those of you that don't know, I've safely and PP'd up for a flight back to the States for a little while. So I'm currently in Austin.
Do you have to quarantine?
I am in quarantine. I am in this room. I'm on day 3.
Nice. What are you doing during quarantine?
Like repacking my suitcase 3 times, walking a path into the carpet. I have this really handy, actually, you guys are going to get a kick out of this because I don't remember if I sent you the video or not, but so there is a big double window next to the bed, and my aunt has given me a step stool. What my cousin likes to do is she likes to sit out on the roof. So she's already taken the screen off of it. And my aunt said that this is the perfect outdoor setting for my time outside. So I open the step stool, climb through the window, and lay out on the roof for some little vitamin C.
Vitamin D?
I do it every time, Georgia. But I think I'm going to the yard today, so that's a big accomplishment. We're moving up.
Wow.
You have to go via the roof, or are they going to let you?
No. I'm actually rolling down the roof and then
jump into the pool. That could actually be really.
Oh yeah, if the pool was right there, it would be fine. But it's not. It's concrete. So.
Did your uncle give you an N95 to walk through the house with?
No, so he's got an N95 on. Just for listeners, my uncle is a doctor, and so we're following very, very strict protocol to keep him safe because he's just trying to make it through without getting COVID before the vaccination starts going around. But he wears an N95, and we've got a little setup. All the phones have pagers on them, so when I want breakfast or something to eat, I page, and then it's at my door, which sounds so fantastic. But then when you're on day 3, you just want to make your own food.
I never want to make my own food, Ariel. That's where you're wrong.
Yeah, well, you got mad for that.
You're not wrong.
All the time.
Yeah. Georgia, what's going on with you?
Well, nothing.
Ariel's back in town?
Yeah, Ariel's back in town. We've spent quite a lot of time on Skype and Messenger trying to set up our microphones. And of course, it still took us, 2.5 hours to get this going?
It took us so long.
Oh, we've been doing this for a while. Today?
Yeah.
Good.
But, things are going well. The holidays are coming up. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to spending some distanced time with Ariel and Lisa and my family, but it's going to be very, very distant.
Yeah. Socially appropriate.
Anyways, guys, I was actually going to talk to you about some breaking news that I received this morning. So my sister Marina sent me this link. So cool. Apparently, a group of, I don't know what you call them, decoders, decoded one of the Zodiac Killer's messages today.
Shut
What?
up.
Yeah, so apparently, I guess it's been what, like 50, it says 51 years on the link that she sent me. It says the solution to what's known as the 340 cipher, one of the most vexing mysteries of the Zodiac Killer's murder saga, has been found by a code breaking team. And I saw another tweet today saying that the FBI has confirmed it. The code has been decoded. I don't know if they have released what it says, but that's pretty big news, I think.
Legit.
That's amazing.
Dang. Great.
I mean, props to them.
I wonder if there's just a team of investigators that are still working on that case.
I'm sure there are.
Because that case has been going on for, like you said, 50-something years.
Right.
Yeah.
But
if that's the case, I might be changing my profession.
But can you imagine, like, looking at the same symbols or numbers or letters over and over again every day as your day job, trying to figure out what they're supposed to say? Like, that would drive me insane, I think.
It would be like beating your head against a wall over and over and over.
Until it breaks through.
That's imagery right there.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great advancement for them, because you never know what that means.
Yeah. Well, they know what it means.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool news about the Zodiac Killer. It's kind of cool because, like, the Golden State Killer had just been caught maybe 3 years ago, and now I feel like we're breaking through so many barriers that were in front of police for so many years. It's so cool.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, it's great to see it all unfold.
All right, guys. So who's going? Who's doing today?
It's me.
And me.
All right, who would did you guys talk about who wants to go first? Should we flip a coin?
No. Lisa, would you like to do the honors?
I would love to.
All right, take it away.
Well, tonight, the way that we're going to start, if you want to get your nice cup of coffee, sit back with your blanket, you guys have probably all heard of B.G. Cooper, aka Dan Cooper, which is his real name. He got an alias via some altered media, but we'll talk about that later. This is called the Norjac Mystery, which stands for the Northwest Airlines hijack. So, I find this really interesting one. It's got a lot of cool details to it. On November 24th, 1971, on the night of Thanksgiving Eve, which is the eve before Thanksgiving, I don't know why I was thinking the night of, but it's before, a man by the name of Dan Cooper bought a one-way ticket from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington for $20 in cash. It was flight 305 in the Northwest Airlines. It was told that he was a white man with brown eyes, a low voice with no accent. He's in his mid-40s. They even knew he sat in seat 18C, and he was known to order a bourbon and a soda. Kind of sounds like a classy guy, just trying to...
I was just going to say that.
Really? Because I was going to say, sounds like a serial killer's drink, but that's cool.
Any real man drinks bourbon straight.
True.
How dare he?
Soda.
On the rock.
He's kind of in the middle. We don't know which direction he's going because the soda kind of lightens him up a bit, right? And y'all, for being as classy as he was wearing a clip-on tie from JCPenney's.
All right, Dan, that totally lost me.
Multiple websites. It was from JCPenney's.
I think that's classy AF.
No, I think back in those days, JCPenney was actually quite expensive. It's supposed to be like a really nice department store. Department stores were really new, so I think that's like going to what is it?
Like Saks Fifth Avenue?
In Marcus? Yeah, Saks Fifth Avenue.
I was more talking about the clip-on. That's what threw me.
Accessible, fashionable. It's fine.
I imagine it as like a working man's tie. It's like you get home after being in the office all day and your kids are running up to you and your wife's handing you a martini when you walk in the door and you're just like, here, honey, take this.
Take this
rip
clip
it off.
off.
Yeah.
We're ripping it off.
Yeah, but he drinks his drinks with soda, so you don't expect much.
They didn't say whether there was ice in the cup or not. I think that would have been an important detail.
Yes.
But for the story purposes, he also happened to be carrying a brown paper bag and a black briefcase. So around 3 p.m., as the stewardess walked by, he handed her a note. It was supposed to be given discreetly, and for as much as she cared about this man, she just put it in her pocket and walked off. Well, then as she came back by, he looked at her and said, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb." The letter was returned back to Cooper and was never actually read. And that's still part of the mystery today, as no one knows what was on the note. But because he said the word bomb, she had to take it seriously.
It kind of sounds like a pickup line, like, "Hey, lady, did you check my pocket? I've got a bomb."
Oh my gosh. Well, it's funny because then he said he had her sit down next to him in the seat. And basically, he asked her to sit down next to him. And then he said, "I want $200,000 by 5 p.m. in cash," and wanted them in 20s. And wanted them put in a bag. He also wanted 4 parachutes. It said 2 rear and 2 front parachutes. And then he wanted to have a truck with fuel in it for when he decided to land. And these were all demands to give to the captain. And this was all done discreetly. One of the last thing he said is, "When we land, I want a truck ready to refuel and no funny stuff or I'll do the job."
Do you think the funny stuff meant the bomb?
I'm guessing that pickup line. Well, they did take it seriously. He used the word bomb. So they landed in Seattle. And then when they landed, he exchanged 36 passengers for the bag of money and parachutes he had asked the captain for. He kept a few of the crew members on the plane, and then he asked if the plane would fly back to Mexico City. And he didn't want the plane to go any higher than 10,000 feet. So during the second half of the flight, he dons the dark wraparound sunglasses on, which if you've ever seen pictures of him with these black sunglasses that almost look like goggles, and that's the picture he's known for. Around 8 p.m., somewhere between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, he puts on the rear parachutes and jumps out the back, never to be seen from again. So he took off his clip of the tie before he jumped out, and the FBI was able to pull a DNA sample from that, but it never turned into anything. I don't know if the technology wasn't good in the 1970s to follow the DNA sample, but that never led to anything. It was found that there was a rap in the 1980s. A young boy found a rotting package of $5,800 in 20s with the same serial number as the missing bills on the beach of Tina Bar. So what they had done is, when all the banks realized that this money had all been collected and given to this man, they went and they were able to somehow trace back all the serial numbers on the 20s. And they were able to prove later that none of this money went back into circulation. One theory is that when Cooper exited the plane, the money flew out and landed in the Washougal River. And then it just floated down to Tina Bar, where this boy found it.
What a waste.
He didn't get any of the money? Like, he didn't take any of it with him? He wasn't able to?
So what happened was, he goes back up in flight after he basically exchanges this $200,000 at the time, which now would be considered $1.4 million, into the knapsack that the pilot gave him. And he went back up with, I think it said, 4 crew members. He took off this JCPenney's tie clip. He put on the parachute, grabbed the money, and jumped out of the plane while it was still in flight, which is why they believe that they asked the pilot to keep it 10,000 feet or below. So he did take the money with him. The thing is, it was never shown to have been spent anywhere. So
That sucks.
Yes. And then it said D.B. Cooper was actually a name mistaken by the media at that time, and he should be remembered as Dan Cooper. This heroic hero gets a rights to his name. The violation is that Cooper had violated the Hobbs Act, which is a federal law created to prevent extortion and had no statutes of limitations. So if he was even found today, that he could still be put in jail for that. Well, it was something that they called air piracy, but that statute was only 5 years. So they decided that this guy, I mean, I guess things could have gone a lot worse, or because of the history of flight jacking, what can happen.
Okay, but also how cool is the term air piracy? Like if someone was like, that Olivia, she's an air pirate, I'd be like, yes, I am.
I would like to be an air pirate. Air pirate.
It could have so many meanings. So long story short, Cooper was never heard from again. No one knows if he's alive, if he died, and that's the mystery. Seattle Magazine calls Cooper somewhat of an outlaw folk legend, and a tavern where the search began looking for him, where they found the money on these banks, they throw a yearly anniversary party for him in remembrance of the air pirate. And this killed me all. A recent movie trailer by Marvel at one point makes Loki out to be Cooper. That he committed the heist on one of his trips back through the Bifrost.
Yes, I just saw this today.
No way.
That is epic. That is so cool.
It's a Disney Plus show, and they just released a trailer on Thursday. And when you were talking about DB Cooper jumping out of the plane, I was like, I wonder if that has anything to do with Loki.
Okay, because when I read that this morning, it said it had been posted like 9 hours ago. That makes so much sense now.
That is so cool. Just thinking about that. I mean, Marvel really takes into consideration like real life things and
Well, yeah, think about, you know, how the Bifrost just steals him back. It's the perfect cover. He jumps out and then it takes him away, and that's why he's never seen from again.
Yeah, that's ballin'.
I didn't come up with that idea. That was definitely online, but
oh, come on, they're missing out on your ideas.
Honestly, they probably are. You should submit them some of the poems you've written us.
100. We're not going to talk about those poems. So, these are just some fun facts. The FBI believes that Cooper died from the fall due to him being underdressed, and where his parachute was deployed from was a harsh, rugged mountain terrain during that time in January. And in 1972, many letters were sent to the FBI confessing that they had leads on the case. 2 of them said that they were Cooper's brothers, and there were men arrested impersonating Cooper. A bunch of letters were sent in. 6 they received a lot of attention because they looked like ransom letters where they took magazines and they cut out each letter individually to make sentences. And one of the letters said, "Attention, thanks for the hospitality," was in a rut. And another one said that his life was in turmoil. He only had 14 months to live, so I wanted to go out on a high. And then another one, someone had decoded it to have said Ragshaw. So the only real suspect that got the media's attention, his name was Ragshaw. And the Washington Post describes Ragshaw as an old Army veteran who got arrested for the murder of his stepfather. The charges for that were dropped in 1978. And then later, he got arrested for aircraft and check fraud. He was ruled out because he was too young to meet the description, but throughout his time in jail, he was questioned, and he kept joking about how he could be Cooper. And then he would get ruled out again because he was thought to be a family man. But Ragshaw got a lot of attention. Movies were made, documentaries were made. There was even a book written about Ragshaw. And at one point he had stated, "I wouldn't discount myself," about all the remarks. And he was charismatic, and they said he had a fire to burn. So maybe he just I liked having this title, and maybe he thought it was a joke that everyone thought he was Ragshaw. He was the only one that the media really talked about, and to this day, they don't have a lot of information on who it is. I like to think it's Loki.
Yeah, I'm probably going to say the same thing.
My guess is it's probably Ted Cruz again.
God damn it, Ted Cruz. Why can't he be both?
¿Por qué no los dos? Come on.
I think that's the most logical explanation for sure.
But if he had died, they would have surely found a body.
If it landed in the water. But there was no information I could find that anyone had followed that or traced it to.
Did they do a search party in the landing site?
They did.
Okay, so then
where they think he landed, like where they found the money.
Right.
On the banks, and that's where they do those like yearly anniversary parties for him.
I would like to go to one of those.
And that is the mystery, unless you guys have anything else, of D.B. Cooper.
Wow. D.B. Cooper, I've heard of this before, and it's one of those mysteries where it's just like, here are the facts, and we've literally got no other information. Like, there's just no leads.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot. Most of the websites had almost the exact same story. And a lot of people were getting discounted as being a suspect because 2 of the flight attendants that he let off the plane gave almost the exact same description of him. So they were going very, very accurately based on that description. And they weren't just arresting people here and there. It was interesting that they took those descriptions so much into hand.
Yeah, no, it's definitely really cool. Maybe it's one of these things, kind of like, breaking the code on the Zodiac killers stuff. Maybe years down the line, we're going to get an answer to it.
I try not to tell myself there will be an answer because there are just some things I feel like I will never have the answers to.
Has to humble us a little bit, right?
Anyways, that was brilliant, Lisa. Thank you for your research. That was so good, actually.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. Everybody always talks about the D.B. Cooper disappearance. All right, Ariel, what do you got?
I thought about the things that I love most, and one of them happens to be crime. And the second one happens to be feminism. So I'm going to do one of the first female serial killers, and her name is Jane Toppan. She is wicked in lots of ways. So we'll dive in. So I got a lot of my information from New England Historical Society, FemaleKillers.com, Crime Museum, and Murderpedia. Because Murderpedia is now my new favorite thing. So she was born Honora Kelly, or Nora Kelly, on March 31st, 1854. Her father, Peter Kelly, was a tailor who had been out of work for a while, and her mother, sadly, I didn't see the name, but it's probably because her mother died about a year into her birth. So she died from tuberculosis. As far as Peter Kelly goes, he was said to be a very unstable man who possibly abused Jane and her younger sister, Delia. Sorry, I wanted to say Delilah. I don't know why. Anyway, so he wasn't a good dad. No bueno. Not the best. What ended up happening was he took both girls to the Boston Female Asylum. So basically, from reading a whole bunch of this stuff, the Boston Female Asylum was kind of like an orphanage. And what they did was they allocated children by, like, their requirement was that they allocated children to families by 10 years of age. So he dropped them both off, said sayonara, and then it turns out for him personally, it didn't go well because he kind of lost his shit and then he passed away. There's a previous history of mental illness in the family. So moving on, obviously Jane and Delia are sad about this. Jane does get adopted, and she gets the privilege of working as a servant to a widow. Yay!
That sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
That sounds like a movie.
Yeah. So they adopted her. So if you remember, her name was Honora Kelly. This is where she officially gets the name Jane Toppan, because the people who adopt her, the mother's name is Anne Toppan. And she ends up working for them for like 8 years. She has a younger foster sister who we'll come back to, but her name's Elizabeth. Unfortunately, Delia is said to have not had a great outcome. So I think Jane had the upper hand because Delia ended up working as a sex worker on the streets. She was kind of forced into that at a young age. So Jane acquired the name from Anne, and she officially adopted her. And the reason why she changed her name is because she didn't like the Irish people. She didn't like Irish people. So she changed her name to Jane, and then she told everyone she was Italian, which I don't know how that works, but all right.
Is Jane an Italian name?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. No.
Where's the creativity?
Yeah. Oh, well, in her mind, because they changed her name and they changed her background, this is where it started at a young age. Jane started to tell these like elaborate lies to people, which a lot of people knew weren't true. And she just really got in her head about it. She'd make up all this stuff about her parents. And I can kind of understand that and relate to that because her parents, one passed away and the other one was not in a great condition to take care of them. So what's easier to do? Tell them about your painful past or just lie? So she ends up working for the family for 8 years, and then the family finally grants Jane her freedom and gives her kind of a monetary supplement of $50 at the time. Jane is very happy about this, but she decides she wants to stay with the family because, they're a part of who she is now. And so she ends up staying until Anne passes away. And I think this is in her younger 20s. So she ends up getting engaged to a guy, but then ends up being jilted by him. It doesn't say exactly what happened, but it is kind of a confirmed thing that it really hit her hard and her behavior started to become very odd to people. It wasn't like the typical, she kind of grew up as a very excellent student, stellar star, fit in with the family. And then after this engagement, it kind of knocked her off and she started exhibiting these odd behaviors and odd interactions with people. And she just, as like a preface for anybody who doesn't like anything heavy, she did try and commit suicide twice. So it really wasn't a great outcome, but she moved past this. She pulled herself together and she started a new chapter by attending the Cambridge Hospital in Boston, where she trained as a nurse. Yeah. I don't think that was the best thing, but we'll get into that. So,
are we still talking about a serial killer?
Yep. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. So in nursing school, Jane was given the name Jolly Jane because she was just so outgoing. She was really bright, bushy eyed. What is it? No, that's bushy tailed, bright eyed.
She sounds like a squirrel. Is she a squirrel?
No, she's not.
Bright eyes and bushy tail.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what it sounded like when I was reading through all this. So she was nicknamed Jolly Jane, but most people actually disliked her quite a bit because she made candid remarks. She liked to start drama between people, and she was just blunt about a lot of stuff. And then she lied about quite a few things. Like she lied about getting an interview to a certain hospital that everyone knew she didn't get into. So by the end of her schooling, not many people enjoyed her company. So as a student nurse, Jane really, her strength was obviously her personality, and she really connected with a lot of her students. But it kind of ended up being the sort of thin line she was walking on because she would sometimes falsify documents so that patients would stay longer with her, so she would have someone to talk to.
Heck no.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's like the epitome of loneliness.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where it starts to turn. So she developed really strong feelings about elderly people. Essentially, that they're a waste and we should just kind of get rid of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think at one point she said they're not worth keeping alive. So in 1887, there was one patient that she had by the name of Amelia Finney, and she was hospitalized for an operation. She says post-op that Jane gave her something that tasted quite bitter and ended up knocking her out. So she was unconscious. But even though she was unconscious, she could feel Jane climb into bed with her and kiss her all over. And then she just suddenly stopped.
What?
Yeah. Amelia spent quite a bit of time telling herself that it was just a dream, but eventually it comes to be that it's really just a nightmare for her because it is real. That later on, Jane admits to having actually crawled into bed with her. And she also admits during her confession that she probably killed about a dozen patients while she was a student on purpose. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So she graduated from nursing school. I don't know how, but cool.
Times have changed.
Yeah. She was offered a position at Massachusetts General Hospital, but then she was later fired for drug abuse in relation to elderly patients. What she was doing was she was using opium in increasing doses and watching these elderly patients suffer until they died. And then she also became really obsessed with autopsies and autopsy reports. And the hospital started to kind of like get really uncomfortable with that. They were worried about her, and they raised concern about it. But they didn't consider this malice. No, no. It was just incompetency because she was newly qualified. So they fired her, but they recommended her as a private nurse to people.
Come on.
Oh no, that's the worst.
All over,
Yeah.
but she's a nurse.
Yeah, so she became a private nurse at the recommendation of the doctors from the hospital that she was just fired at. And this is when her real killing spree starts. It lasts between 1887 to 1901 that she's essentially killing people. She begins working for families around Boston for years without being detected. She would kill the older family members and steal their belongings. She also her first room and board placement was with what everyone says a lovely couple, Israel and Lovely Denham. But she managed to poison the husband to a certain extent to make it look like a heart attack. And then she spent about 2 years before she killed the wife off, which is just really sad. A lot of
So sorry, Ariel. How is she killing them off exactly with the opium?
So she's poisoning them, and it's. I think this one was like styric. I can't pronounce the name, but she was essentially giving them illegal doses of medication to make it look like they've either had a heart attack or their body was in some kind of stress and they ended up passing away. So it couldn't like trail back to her.
This is wrong. You said it's slow death, like so they would slowly become poisoned and then it was just kind of like a tragic long
so sometimes, well, I mean, in this case she made it look like it was a triggered heart attack. So that, with a heart attack it kind of happens faster than slowly poisoning someone with opium. I think she did quite a few different things because with another patient, or not another patient, but another person, her idea was to poison them and then mend them back to health. So not necessarily kill them, but just care for them and show them that she's a trustworthy person when she's not. And I think she went undetected for so long because she had such a good rapport with people.
Of course she was charismatic. Of course she was. Yeah. They all are.
Yeah, so she went on to kill some other people in town, and then her foster sister Elizabeth, came to visit her at a time when she was really struggling with depression, and she decided she was going to kill her slowly as well. So she gave her poison again. And I think they went on a picnic or something like that, and she'd given her the poison. And when talking to the police about it, she said, word for word, "I held her in my arms and watched with delight as she gasped her life out."
Whoa, morbid.
Old police that?
That's her foster sister.
Yeah. Oh, it gets worse. So the person that I was talking about, she wanted to mend to health. That's her foster sister's husband because she wanted the equity. She wanted the wealth from it. So she was trying to get in. She killed the housekeeper, got her out of the way, and then tried to kill the husband or like gain his trust so that she could acquire her foster sister's stuff essentially. And
this is so terrible.
Yeah. But also, so at first it sounded like she was doing it for pleasure. And now it sounds like she's doing it for gain, but also those two could cross over.
And they do. I'll tell you what kind of pleasure she was looking for. Let me tell you, this lady. Ugh. So in 1901, Jane's murderous activities were revealed as she poisoned a whole family. So she went big this time. She decided to poison the Davis family. This was a family she had treated, I think, the wife, and she had killed her. Then she moved in with the husband and the two daughters, killed the husband, and then proceeded, his name was Aldine Davis, proceeded to kill the two daughters as well. And then she kind of went on her merry way. Well, the Davis family, like the remaining members, ordered a toxicology report on the youngest daughter and found that she had been poisoned. So the police had already started kind of catching on to her, but this was their real evidence that something's going down and it's not okay. The police then arrested Jane on October 26, 1901. She confessed to 31 murders and reported that she found them sexually gratifying.
What?
She got off on watching people die slowly.
No, not one of those. Not one of those.
Yeah. So it never really states, aside from the first incidents with what was her name? Amelia, I think. It doesn't really talk about whether or not she performed sexual activities on her clients. But I mean, she got some sort of kick from it. So she also confessed to about 100 killings total, but she could only remember 31 of them. So it's a little confusing online because you'll see that it says she's confessed to 31, but really she said she's killed either 100 or over 100 people in between that span.
Mm-hmm.
I think she thought she was helping. I think one page said that she was kind of like that nicknamed Angel of Death or something like that. And anyway, so they have her in custody. She confesses to all these things. On June 23rd, the court found her not guilty by insanity, and they sent her to Taunton Insane Hospital, which is where she spent her days. And I think the next couple of things I say is just like, it goes to show that I don't know if it was appropriate, but she definitely had some sort of, I think, mental illness. So when she confessed to all these murders, gave great descriptions and details about it. And then at the end, she said, if I had a husband, I wouldn't have done any of this. I would have been so focused on my husband and kids that I wouldn't have even thought about killing anyone.
Because she can't take responsibility.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. So then the next thing is, in the insane hospital or the mental hospital, she used to go around the hospital and talk to some of the staff and say, "Get some morphine, dearie, and we'll go out in the ward. You and I will have a lot of fun seeing them die."
Oh my gosh.
I would be so freaked out if I worked at that insanity. What is it? Asylum?
It's called the Taunton Insane Hospital, but they also call it the mental hospital as well. I think the PC is a little outdated for that.
So
I would be so freaked out.
Yeah. I just think she definitely wasn't in the right frame of mind for all of that, was she?
I can't believe they said she was not. I understand like the mental illness factor, but where's that line of like,
yeah,
I mean, I've never claimed her not guilty for all of it.
Right. She killed so many people.
Right. Exactly. So
that's so bad.
Yeah, a lot of people who knew Jane believe that she had two faces to her. One that was this person who went out in the evenings, got drunk, was chatty, liked to gossip quite a bit, and then this Jane who at work was professional, skilled, highly qualified. I mean, guys, she was making $25 per week in a time where women were only making $5 per week.
So she's good at what she did.
Yeah, and also killing people. So
good at what she did.
Yeah. So the last quote that I've got, and this is probably the more known quote for her is that when she was asked why she did this, she said, "That is my ambition, to have killed more people, more helpless people than any man or woman who has ever lived."
This is psycho.
What a thing to say.
Yeah.
That was her ambition.
Yeah. So that is the story of Jane. And now I'm not going to remember her last name, am I? Toppan.
She said,
Jane Toppan.
innocent, helpless people. Let's throw those quotes.
So it wasn't as it's not as gruesome as like some of the other ones we've covered, but like, holy crap.
But the thing is it's just as sick. Like, just comparing it to the men that we've talked about who have done serial killings.
Yeah.
She's, despite her being a woman, her capability of being just as sick as them is on the same level.
And so premeditated. Nothing about that was just last minute. Like, she planned for years to kill these people. She got in their homes.
Well, and it wasn't even like a revenge. It's not even a revenge case. She's doing it for sexual thrill, which is like, oh, this is sexually motivated. This is, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like that.
So that's the thing. It just blows my mind because everything said she either killed for sexual pleasure or she killed because she was bored, and it didn't have to be people she didn't know. Like, it ranged between everyone, people she had just met, friends and family. I mean, she killed her own foster sister, one that she grew up with for like 8 years. That's insane.
Definitely mental illness. Definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the story.
Yeah, like
I feel like a little piece of my soul is gone now.
I feel sad. I feel like I want to get revenge for the nurses, man.
Yeah, but that was some very good investigating, Ariel.
I know.
Kudos to you.
Thank you very much
for that.
I was invested in that very much.
All right, you guys, it's that time. Georgia, I believe you have a missing person for us.
Yes, thank you, Liv. I do have a missing person. Okay, so this is for an 8-year-old girl. She was 6 years old when she went missing. Her name is Mildred, or Millie, Alexis Old Crow of the Crow Indian Reservation. Apparently, she has not been seen since July of 2018, but her non-custodial relatives notified the BIA law enforcement on November 19th, 2020. So just a couple weeks ago that she was missing. It's said that she has brown hair, brown eyes, and she's small in stature for her age, but she's still missing. And it's from the Montana, in the Montana area. So we'll post a picture of her on our Instagram, and if you happen to see anybody that looks similar to her, keep in mind she's 2 years older now than when she went missing, so when the photo was taken. But you can contact the Indian Affairs Law Enforcement at 406-638-2631 or the FBI at 801-579-1400, and then click option 2.
Well, thank you so much for giving us all of that information, Georgia. If anyone wants to contact any of those outlets, I think that would be greatly appreciated. You guys, I think we're done for today.
We're done.
How are you feeling?
All
right. Lisa, you want to do your thing?
Ariel, you did pretty good at it earlier.
What did I? I was thinking about chalupas, but all right.
Take it away.
Lady Marmalade.
Bam.
That was so
good.
Sweet.
Yes.
Sense of beauty in that, Ariel.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.